Hi, this is Congressman Tom Cole of 4th District of Oklahoma, and this is another one of our congressional weekly chats. Forgive me if I look a little disheveled, but we just finished one of the longest sessions I've ever been in. It started on, yesterday on Wednesday. We're now at Thursday morning, and we just passed the big, beautiful bill. This is an extraordinary moment. This is actually most of the Trump agenda in a single piece of legislation. It has money for the border over the next 4 years, money for defense, something we desperately need to be concerned about these days. Much more importantly, though, it both makes President Trump's tax cuts from 2017 permanent, so there's no tax hike, which we would have had we not passed this bill, and it adds some other tax cuts that he made commitments on the campaign: no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, lower taxes for seniors that are heavily dependent on Social Security. So a really good bill for working people. And finally, some real reforms in what's called mandatory spending, Medicaid in particular. Nobody that's on Medicaid that's legally entitled to be there will be impacted in any way. But people that aren't supposed to be there, that are either ineligible or in the country illegally, will be removed. And there's some additional provisions to try and help rural hospitals who are heavily dependent on Medicaid patients get through. There's lots of stuff that will speed up exploration for oil and gas. There's also other tax provisions. I mean, it's really an extraordinary piece of legislation, almost 1,000 pages long. I really have to tip my hat to a lot of people that had a lot to do with this. First and foremost, President Trump, because if he didn't win the election, he didn't have the vision, this wouldn't happen. But I also particularly have to recognize some of my colleagues, Speaker Mike Johnson, Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Whip Tom Emmer. They've done an extraordinary job. We have a very narrow majority. For them to pass this and now pass it after the Senate changes again, is something that I think most of official Washington and certainly most of the media thought could not be done. Those three individuals in particular, but honestly the entire Republican team, deserve a lot of credit for this accomplishment. So it's an extraordinary thing. I think it will be looked on much the way Ronald Reagan's first economic package was looked upon, and we'll go from there. But this is a big win for the President of the United States, on top of a couple of big wins. The decision to strike the Iranian nuclear facilities, the trade deals that are beginning to come together now, the speed at which he assembled a cabinet. I don't think there's anybody in Washington, D.C. that doubts who is running the government of the United States, and frankly, anybody in the world. And so the president's on a roll, and I think even his critics would acknowledge that. And hopefully people will begin to recognize this Republican conference has stepped up and produced, has kept its commitments, and has gotten the best possible deal. Doesn't mean the work's done. We have a lot more to do this year. Speakers talked about another reconciliation package. We have, of course, the appropriations process to get through. We're well on our way, but that's probably next up. And no, there's always going to be a crisis or a disaster that the president has to handle, but this will be looked upon as one of the pivotal moments in the Trump presidencies. And it'll be a defining moment, both for the president and for the Republican conferences in the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House. They got their work done. And I also want to recognize my colleagues, both in this delegation, all of whom supported this bill, and our colleagues in the United States Senate, James Lankford and Markwayne Mullin, who I think both did an extraordinary job of helping get this through on a tie vote through the United States Senate, where it took the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, to break the tie. But our players, our senators were big players on that side. Our House delegation, Kevin Hern on Ways and Means, I think certainly Frank Lucas, our senior member, Josh Burkeen, our most junior member, and Stephanie Bice and myself on appropriation have all, done our part. And again, I'm proud of each and every one of them. So this is an extraordinary day, and people will look back and define, both the Trump presidency by what happens. Now, I'll be honest with you, it has to work. It has to lead to prosperity, economic growth, and over time, a budget deficit that it won't get eliminated by this bill, quite the opposite. But we hope the growth will help us work our way out of the fiscal crisis that we're in right now. And again, for a Congress to actually deal not only with the tax side of the equation, but to try to begin to wrestle with some of the reforms we need on the mandatory spending side, the real drivers of the deficit, is extraordinary. I've been here 23 years, nobody's had the nerve to do it. I'm proud of the people that did. And again, I mentioned Jason Smith, the chairman of Ways and Means, but particularly Brett Guthrie, a name you probably don't know, but the chairman of the Energy and Commerce Committee that came up with the Medicaid reforms and got them through. And that is no small feat. So again, lots of accolades for lots of people. And I'll say this for my Democratic friends on the other side, they are my friends. They fought to the last bullet. They put up every vote they had on every controversial measure, and they fought the good fight. But hopefully we can find areas now, like appropriations, where in the end of the day we can come to a deal and work together. This was always designed to be a Republicans only type of approach. That's what reconciliation is. The majority party uses it, gets you around the filibuster in the United States Senate. Means that you can do things with narrow majorities, but those majorities have to hang together, have to operate within the rules, and have to produce substantive policy. In this case, they all did. So again, if you're a Republican, a big day. If you're a Democrat, you can fight another day. This is America. But again, this is something that we think the country needed. It's certainly what the president was elected to do, what the Congress that supports him, his fellow Republicans were elected to do. And today, at least, they got the job done, and I think they scored a big win for the American people. So with that, look forward to visiting with you again soon. And again, if I'm disheveled and tired, I'm sorry, but I've been up over 24 hours now. But it's a very satisfying win. And congratulations, Mr. President. Congratulations, Mr. Speaker. Congratulations, Mr. Leader and Mr. Whip. And congratulations to the country for getting through an extraordinary bill that we think will have beneficial and consequential impact for a long time to come. With that, good luck. God bless. Hope your family and you are well, and look forward to visiting with you again soon.